Let's try this again. In the top right, as the blue Protoss, it is DnS. In the bottom left, as the red Zerg, it is Denver. DnS going with the fastest possible probe scout, actually bringing a second probe down to place the pylon. So, pylon scout, I would say, does usually mean you place the pylon down, then you scout. But if, I mean, this is even pre that, so. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? Okay. That would have been like a little suspicious. This would be a marker of a cannon rush, but it is just to make sure that you get the block on the hatchery. So Denver, I believe, was going for a 15 hatch, which usually circumvents the pylon block. The probe block on the pylon scout, right? But I guess if it's this fast, they still get it. Now this is especially abusive on this map. It's a smaller map already, but we're talking about later, right? This doesn't actually do much right now, and that's not really its purpose. Like, yeah, it's always great to get in your opponent's head and kind of be like, aha, gotcha. But that's not usually like the super special reason people are doing it. The fact that you now have so much creep spread to cover, or you just have so much, room to cover, or you don't have creep spread. So your queens are super slow, your roaches are slower, your lings are slow, all that good stuff. Is already painful enough, so even against like an adept harassment, you have a little bit of a tougher time dealing with it. You have a little bit of a tougher time perhaps denying the scout, denying the adept. I'm thinking more towards even beyond that. We've been seeing a lot of those 2-base Immortal all-ins. You all have heard about this, and we did see a lot of impactful new Repugnancy games going quite sideways really fast because there isn't creep spread connecting the bases. It's not even about the third to the main, which is obviously a big jump, but even not able to get the main to the natural, natural to the third, which is usually the most important because they're going to be attacking in here, and they're going to be force fielding this. You want to be able to get in position ASAPly, and you might not be able to. So is that really, am I just calling this at minute 1.5 or whatever it happened because I'm super smart? If I do, you all will have to spread the good word to ZombieGrub, but no, I'm not. I'm just saying that it's an annoyance, it's an option, it's something that could occur, and it did occur in GSL, but we do have a Stargate opener, so that does drastically reduce the potential of those 2-base attacks. It doesn't reduce it entirely. We do have some follow-up, going just for the Oracle, or maybe an Oracle on the Phoenix, but most importantly, following up immediately with the Robo, so that counts on a bunch of gateways. It does delay it. It's not as strong. It isn't. The option of being the fastest possible Robo attack is no longer there. And that is the tricky thing about the 2-base all-ins, or even quote-unquote third-base all-ins, is that when exactly is the timing? When exactly do I have to cut drones as a Zerg player to build roaches? And can't cut too early in some of these, because I don't have enough production. That's the trouble. This Overlord will get a full scout on the main base. I would love to be able to tuck us up in a corner, but New Repugnancy is one of the maps you can't. Plus, it's just gonna die. Spore crawlers are being made. Talking about that follow-up effect of denial of the hatchery is that you can't necessarily get your 2 queens helping each other and chasing the Oracle as much. Now, Denver already has second queen as third base. He doesn't need a spore crawler there. He has no drones at his natural. Doesn't need a spore crawler there. And he is being very attentive to the creep spread to the middle of the map to be able to jump on these units, either with queens or also lings. Lings are already speedy, obviously, but speed does help them. So speedlings top of the adepts. This is where these 2 queens would have a tough time chasing the Oracle, but if one queen's already on top of it, then that's fine. And he knows he's protected by a second queen and a spore crawler. So really nice defense there. I do believe DnS was specifically looking for that attack to do a little bit more because of that hatchery block, but Denver has circumvented any drastic cuts to his economy, which it doesn't happen too often. I'm not saying that this is like such a obvious good move that you get 10 drones every time you block a hatchery. It sometimes adds a little bit. Doesn't add much here though. We did have that Robo Twilight Council follow-up, and that's not that surprising. What is the difference maker is, do they go into charge immediately, or they add a Templar Archives? Do they add on 2 gateways, or they add on 4 or 6? So with charge being immediate and being chronoed with 4 extra gateways instead of just 2, we're not just going to have the Archon drop, which is a follow-up, going to a macro game. We are going to have the charge lots as a possible addition, and perhaps even a very strong straight-up attack. Their Nexus should come down. Just a question of how much pro production really goes into it. Denver, a lot of Zergs are, I think, just doing this. Like, they don't go for the fastest evolution chambers anymore. They don't go for Baneling defenses anymore. It's just a little too risky. So he's getting a lot of roaches right now, right here, right now. And that'll do well for him when the attack shows itself. Now, he doesn't actually know exactly what the attack's going to look like. He's seen Zealot Warpanes, he sees a 3rd gas, but he doesn't get much other information. He is kind of, I think, waiting to see the Archon drop, which I don't believe he had a link seeing that. Some other Zergs are very keen on having those lings out in the field, but if he did have any, they died. Actually, yeah, 16 lings just straight up died, attacking in the 3rd. But there is the Archon drop. His units are not in position. The Zealots go to the north with a couple of Adepts and are being warped in here. And this is where things get really tricky. The straight up attack in the main base is tricky, plus the harassment in the 3rd base. So do you have enough roaches to even split against this? Do you have enough roaches to even defend against this? Charge lots aren't exactly packing the biggest punch to the roaches, but the Archons helping out mean that they can definitely take on quite a few. Drones have been killed in this defense, 15 of them. Lots of lost mining time, gas loss of mining time. Queens have gone down as well, so the Warp Prism can continue to just freely float through what is actually a decent amount of creep spread. Very nice attack there from DnS. We even saved a couple of units up to the top side. Now they did a whole ton, but this has been really nice. Warp Prism coming in on the 3rd now. Double Oracle still ready to attack into any potential, I mean, even how about against a Queen, but the mineral lines, Sappy Zappy on the sides there. And this has been some really nice attacking from our Protoss player. Denver, a little almost desperately trying to move in, looking for a counter, but already a decent number of sentries and an Immortal. Speed isn't done, +1's way not done. Denver just found himself in a very awkward position. DnS did push off that forge like I was talking about, but that delay on the probe saturation really wasn't that big. He didn't do like a huge like triple warp into Zealots and then go for it. He did do the attack in the main, harassment in the 3rd, and then anything he could back into the pro production. But the forge is definitely something he gave up. So he will also have that later upgrade despite any Chrono boosts. Oracles do find that Queen. That's what I was talking about. And they're not too bad at helping out against the eventual Ravagers. Which, there we go, 5 Ravagers now on the way. But 1 dies, so never mind about that. This one's getting low. Archon's still doing some damage, though, alongside... Oh, it's Hallucination. Okay, so just the Archons, then. Observer in good place to see the Roaches and Ravagers move out. Denver is going to try and do the Roach Ravager attack with +1. Really all in here with 52 drones, 3 bases, but it's just not going to work. I'm pretty confident about that. The army supply doesn't look that bad, but the army type that DnS has, along with shield batteries, a Warp Prism, and Immortals, I mean, it's a recipe for success for Protoss. And Denver is not hitting this attack as strongly as he would like. Also moving in there right before +1 is actually done for him. Little bit of an anti-timing. Oracle's going to come in and try and help against, again, specifically the Ravagers. 2 would have been better than 1, but so be it. But DnS just needs to make sure to be very cautious here, patient, and his army should succeed, and he knows this is quite all in. Mortal should never die, but sentries are out of juice. Actually, don't even get to see the finale of that attack. Denver just taps out. I think he knew the attack was probably not going to work, but there's always a chance he has to mess up his macro. Thank you, Zyson, for that 6-month resub. Okay, everyone's raced up and we're ready to go. Kairos Junction will be game number 2. Trying to get this down. Just stop it. Just tap it. DnS showing a very strong execution there. I mean, he did throw Denver off tiny bits, but Denver had an equally strong reaction to the hatch block. He just kind of took it in stride, which is the best thing you can do. Den was, whoops-a-daisy, good about his creep spread and his queen positioning, his spore crawler positioning. Didn't waste, you know, quote-unquote minerals in the early game, but just wasn't prepared for the attack. And a lot of that, I think, had to do with him dedicating his lings to a third base attack, which did not go well. I didn't actually get to see it. That's my bad, guys. But yeah, he lost 16 lings trying to attack into DnS, who was actually prepared for it. And because he did that, he had no lings that were guarding, not guarding, they were scouting for the Warp Prism. Because maybe you do just assume that it's going to be the Archon follow-up. It's such a strong follow-up to do. There's not really many other follow-ups I can think of right now. But it does have the potential to do an attack as well, and what you can find out, at the very least, is where the Warp Prism is going in. So, yeah, if he'd seen the Warp Prism, maybe his entire army's in the main, and the attack on the third actually does damage. But it probably doesn't do as much. There was a definite, like, oh shit moment from Denver, where he wasn't in the main, and he also was not prepared in the third base, where maybe he should have been prepared in at least one of those locations. And he lost, just simply put, too much. 15 drones at a still pretty early part of the game is pretty devastating. I don't think he lost many roaches, but even that could have affected his attack with that +1. So just really thrown off entirely. DnS with the smooth macro and micro was that easy part. When you watch pros anyways, the easy defense of the Protoss with Warp Prism, Immortal, Force Field, Archon. Us plebs, you know, we probably missed the Force Fields and missed micro and whatever, but that's why I felt so confident calling that victory for DnS. A 30 or 40 army supply lead and Roach Ravager is actually just not that impressive. I think what we were actually looking for, with a very like crisp timing, nothing else has happened in the game, I think you're looking for like a 60 supply lead in army. And even then, we've seen Protoss defend against that. Roaches are back to being that laughably inflated supply, where, you know, we've had different metas, Reeling Bailing and Hydras and Lurkers. Like, now we're back to a lot of Roach all-ins. I think off the back of, you know, if I'm going to build Roaches to defend against whatever shit the Protoss is pulling, I got to use them, because they're not very good. So they're kind of intertwined. But speaking of Roaches, Roach Warren is already on the way. Denver getting his third base his natural at the third because of the pylon block again. Not getting this one is something that DnS just freely sees because the Lings are over here attacking into the Sentry, which I don't know if it's the better call. In fact, I don't think it is. Nice save on the Sentry, by the way. It's really awkward, one Sentry against any amount of Lings, but this Adept, I feel like it wasn't supposed to actually get that far in. So it sees a few different things because it isn't dealing with any Lings. Now, these Lings can't actually kill an Adept, by the way. I'm not saying that. But if they keep the Adept only shading into the natural, maybe they don't see there's no drones at the third base. Maybe they don't see that the gases are still being mined in the main. Both the heavy signifiers that something's on the way, not just the lack of a third hatchery, which might just be late. Maybe he's droning really hard. But that Adept's got free reign on the Scout. The Sentry didn't even die. DnS didn't mess up his build that much either, dealing with that, I believe. And he went into a Robo as soon as he realized something was up. Additional shield batteries are on the way too. Realizes he also needs pylons. We will eventually have Corrosive Biles raining down from above, but not yet at a high enough number. The Cybernetics Core means no more sentries. That's the last one. But it will get a force field in. Only that's in a couple of Lings, which is a good split. More pylons, more shield batteries, at least one more shield battery. It's actually just providing additional wall. The sentries will die here, but can they buy enough time? Here comes an Immortal. We're talking about very few units with such an aggressive attack from Denver, and there's not even that many Lings, which usually really complicate things. It's Ling floods that usually do that insurmountable amount of damage to Terran, Zerg, Protoss, you name it. Individual Roaches are easy enough to deal with, even with probe surrounds. And those Lings just aren't in high enough numbers. They're not being let in either. Good additional walls being set up here from DnS. Good crisis management, and a second immortal will be on the way. DnS takes an almost flawless 2-0. You know, obviously, he lost minerals and gas and resources.